Okay, the last step in the window installation is the window trim. So this is the finished product, and now we are going to make it. All right, so let's take a look at the materials that we'll be using for the trim. And basically what I decided to use is a PVC trim. Now, I like the PVC trim for a lot of different reasons. Number one, not like wood, it doesn't deteriorate, it doesn't chip, it doesn't crack, it doesn't rot, it's not susceptible to carpenter ants or termites. It doesn't fade if you try to paint it. All you have to do is power wash it. Now it's way more money, but in the long run it's a lot better. So the two different ones that we'll be using is a 3.5 inch and a 5.5 inch. The 5.5 inch is for the header, and the 3.5 is for the sides and for the apron. I decided to go with the 1 inch thickness. They come in two different sizes, or maybe a couple more, but they have a 1 inch, and then they have this one, which is the 3/4. I originally was going to do the 3/4, but I like the 1 inch thickness. I'll get a better reveal after the siding is installed. All right, so that's the materials list. Now what we need to do is measure the window. I also forgot to mention about the crown. Now, this isn't your typical crown. This is brick molding. But I decided to use this one because it looks like a crown, but then also it's not too wide, which is what I like. So when I put it on the 5.5, you know, I still get the shadow depth, but I still get a nice header as well. So I'll show you how to assemble that. So let's go measure the window now. Alright, so I know my windows are 36 by 42, but that's not the actual. So let's go ahead and measure width and length. So here, this is actually 35.5. And this is 41.5. Now, what I like to do is go 1/16 larger. So we're going to say 41 and 9/16 and 35 and 9/16. Okay, let's draw the window. So we know the length is 41.5. The width is 35.5. Now we want to add 1/16 to both sides. So this is going to be 41 and 9/16, 35 and 9/16. Now, the first cut is going to be the apron, and that's the 3.5 inch board. So that is the first cut, 35 and 9/16. Now, the next piece of trim is going to be the sides. They're going to be like this. So that's 41 and 9/16, but we have to count for the 3.5 inch on each side. So that is going to be 45 1/16. So second and third cut equal 45 1/16. Now, the header. What I like to do is the 5.5 inch header. Now what I like to do is account for 2 inch overhang on each side. So now we have 35 and 9/16 plus 3.5 and 3.5, so that's 7, plus 2 and 2, so that's 4, right? So now that leaves us with 46 and 9/16 for the header. So fourth cut on the 5.5 is 46 9/16. So these are cuts. Now let's go cut them. So 45 9/16. So this is, remember how the window is going to go. Now what I like to do is I like to join them on this side. Don't ask me why, it's the way I've been doing it, so that's the way I'm going to do it. So I'm going to join it here. I'm going to join them here with pocket screws. All right, so what I've got is the Craig jig. Now since this is 1-inch thickness, make sure that you adjust it to 1 inch, which is there. And then I'm not gonna really get into it, but this you have to adjust. I'll just show you, make sure that's 1 inch, which it is. Then you can make your pocket holes. I like to secure it on this side. And then move it over. Do the same thing on this side. Now you'll notice I have the stickers facing on this side, and really you just want the bad sides where you're going to be joining them together. Then what you do is, probably should have set this up before, but get your bit, and your bit comes with the Craig jig. Get your clamp. Make sure that it's tight. That looks good. Now for 1-inch thick materials, use 1.5-inch screws. Now you don't just want to drive them in. You just slowly want to burst them in. And that's tight right there. And that's tight there. Now I'll just do the same thing on this side. That is perfect. Again, don't just drive them in, just take your time and burst them in. All right, now we got to do the header. Now, let's see if my math was right. 42 and 9/16 plus 4, we want to do 46 and 9/16. So now we'll get our 5.5 piece. Maybe this one. awesome. So I'm gonna say 46. Now, I've been cutting so many things, I sometimes forget. So I just want to confirm that it's going to be 46 and 9/16. And that is right. Now this one doesn't have to be as perfect. If it's off by 1/16, that's okay. Yeah, it's off by 1/16. But let's just fix it. Now that's on the money. I'm just trying to see which is the side I like the least. I don't know why the GoPro shuts off automatically, but basically now what you want to do, the way I do it is, do my 2 inches, which is right there, and then I mark it. This is going to be approximate. And then I make sure that this is my 2 inches, and it is. So now what I'm doing is I'm marking where I'm going to do my pocket holes. So I'm going to do my pocket holes in this area. Now since this is a wider piece, I'd like to do 3 holes. So we'll do 3 holes on this one. All right, so I have my 1-inch block here. It's easier, this way everything is level. So the first thing I do is make here. Second one here. And a third one just right in the middle. Just move it a little bit. And the same thing on this side. All right, I've got my holes now. So what I like to do is line up the first one. Now you see the gap? That's okay. The pocket screws are gonna close that nice and tight. I like to do one end first and then the middle. So you see how that got closed in. Now, what I like to do is when I do the second one, don't use the lines as a reference because that wasn't perfect. What you want to do is make sure that that is the same distance as the bottom. So here is, we're going to say 35 and 9/16. So now we want this to be 35. Right there. That's where you want to be. And you see the lines are really off. And that's actually way too off. Just want to see one more time. That's really off. No. Yeah. Well, it is what it is then, right? Get off. Right there. That was a tough one. It's off. Oh, didn't even move. Yay. What the fuck? Okay, now, off 35 and a 16th. Well, I'm gonna need 35 and 9/16. And the middle should also be the same. 35 and 9/16. 35 and 9/16. Now, this is done. Now, what we need to do is so what I like to do is make the first cut. That is the way I do it. I like to mark it. So that's my first one. Now my second cut is going to be right here. Now, what I've done is made little templates. It's just a lot easier when I'm mitering. So now, this cut, I already made my template. I'm gonna line it up against the fence. I'm gonna say there. So that's gonna be my second 45. So now let's see. And that is tight right there. I'm gonna take a little off this side. I'd rather take a little off instead of having it too short. Let's see now. That's good. That's good. So now I've got this piece. Now I need to make my returns. Again, I've made my two templates, my right and my left. So the way the return is gonna work is it's gonna sit on this side like that. And then the left is gonna sit on this side like that. So now the way I like to do it is it's a little counterintuitive, but when you're making your right one, you have to make a left cut. And then vice versa. So what I like to do is start with my 45 first, right there. And then using my template, lining it up, make sure it's up against the fence. So now this is where I'm gonna make my straight cut. Right there. Now let's see how that looks. That is looking nice. So I'll keep this one here. So now I gotta make my left cut. So now this one's on here. That one is straight. So now I line that up, do my 45, bring it here. I like that. Okay, now let's join these pieces. Now what we'll need is wipes. This is to clean the glue. This glue, get off. So we'll need that. This is cellular PVC cement. This is different than the PVC cement you use for your plumbing, your drain, waste, and vents. This one is specifically made for this PVC trim. And then what I do as a doubling up is I use rapid fuse 30 seconds. So now I have a little bit of an advantage because it's cold outside. It's about 40 degrees outside. So that means the glue isn't running all over the place. It's a little bit more viscous. So what I like to do is put it in the middle. Don't go crazy. Just put it in the middle. Because when you join the miters, it's gonna spread. And it'll spread. And then I do the rapid fuse. Decides to come out on the perimeter. All right, let's do this. And that's why I have this wipe to wipe off the excess. Okay, so now I it doesn't bond instantly. You have a little bit of time, but don't squeeze it right away. Just slowly work in the miter. And every once in a while, I just start cleaning off some of the excess and slowly start pushing it tight. There we go. That's looking good right there. Then just hold it. Okay. That's pretty good. See, it's not coming off anywhere. Now I do the exact same thing on the other side. This. Okay, now I have my returns on both sides. Now the last thing to do is join the crown that is a very, very nice tight fit. All right, so now what I do to join these together is from the back side. You get your clamps. Now what I use, I like these when I'm joining this. Exterior screws, 1 5/8, star heads, and they actually recess in. They tap all the way in. So you just do it from the bottom. I like to do 4. Just like the pocket screws, don't just jam them in. Just slowly get them in there. Okie dokie. Now, see if it fits. Alrighty. There we go. And that's how you do your trim. So this is it, the final window and what it looks like after installation and after the siding is up. Came out really good. The one thing that really bothers me, and I'll fix that in the springtime, are all the holes you could see for the screws, and that's everywhere. And the reason because of that is, now what you're supposed to use are these Cortex screws. The way they work is the bit does the automatic recess for you. You put in the screw and then it comes with the plugs and everything looks great. And it actually works. Now the reason why it didn't work for mine is these are 2-inch screws, and remember the material list that I was showing is this is 1-inch PVC, and then I have a 1/2-inch insulation, and then it's the 1/2-inch sheathing. So the screw just wasn't long enough to penetrate the 1-inch and the insulation and make it to the sheathing, so it didn't actually create the recess. So what I ended up doing was I had my own bit, I recessed it myself and just put in some deckmate screws. Now it's a lot wider than the plugs that this comes with, so like I said, in April I'm gonna have to probably pull out all the screws and just figure it out just to make it look nice. But yeah, that's the only thing that's bothering me about the window frame. Everything else looks great. The J channel came around on every single angle. I think it looks nice. Yeah, so that's it.